Hello everyone, this is Mr. Appel, and today I'm going to show you how to take an equation of a circle that's not already in standard form and write it in standard form using our good old friend completing the square. So you see here I've got our goal, which is to get our equation to look like this, to put it in standard form, because as we've seen, when it's in standard form, you can easily tell that the center of this is at HK and that the radius is R. Really easy to see when it's in standard form. This version of the equation, as it's written here, this equation right here that's shown, not so easy to tell. I can tell that it's probably a circle because there's an x squared and a y squared in it, but I can't tell much about it. So I want to rewrite this equation so that it's in standard form, so that it looks like that. So first thing I'm going to do is get all the x and y, all the variables over on the left, and the numbers on the right, because of course in our end result, the radius is going to be a number on the right, and the left is going to have just variables. Okay, so let's do that. Let me move the y squared over to the left, move the 16x over to the left, and move that 11 over to the right. So let's rewrite this as x squared plus 16x plus the y squared equals 11. And notice I left a little space right here. I did that on purpose. Because what I'm going to do now, the y squared, let me back up a step, the y squared is already y squared. That fits the general form if k is 0. But the x part doesn't so much look like it should. So what I'm going to do is complete the square. I'm going to figure out what number could go here so that I could rewrite this part of the equation so that it looks like this, so that it looks like something squared. You may recognize that, you should recognize that from when we did completing the square. So the question is, what do I put in this space to make it so that I can write it as x minus h squared, so that this side is a perfect square. Remember, the goal is I want this to look something like this. Right, that's what I want this to look like. So the question is, how do I get this to look like that? Well, I need to complete the square over here. Well, how do you complete the square? Well, you complete the square by adding b over 2 squared to both sides. B in this case is 16, so that's 16 over 2 squared, which is 8 squared, which is 64. So I'm going to add 64 to both sides of the equation. Remember, you can't just add it to the left side, you have to also add it to the right side to keep your equation balanced. And what that does is it makes this part of the left side a perfect square, and that perfect square is going to be x plus 8 squared. Over here on the right, I have 11 plus 64, which is 75, and voila, my equation is now in standard form. So I can tell now that this equation, this circle, has its center at negative 8, 0, and that its radius is the square root of 75 units long. Very easy. That's how you do that. So what I just showed you should be enough to get you going, but I want to show you one more example if you like to see it. What happens if we have to complete the square for both the x and the y? Here's another example where that happens. So notice that there is an x term here and there's a y term here in addition to the x squared and the y squared. So I'm going to do the same strategy. I'm going to rewrite this equation. So I'm going to have the x squared plus the 6x. I'm going to leave a space. And then the y squared and the minus 14y. I'm going to leave a space there because I'm going to have to complete the square there as well. And I'm going to take that 20 and move it over to the other side. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to complete the square twice. What? Yep, we're going to complete the square twice. So first, let's do the x's. So what do I need to add right here to make this a perfect square? Well, as always, it's b over 2 squared. So that's 6 divided by 2, which is 3. Squared is 9, so I'm going to add 9. to the left side of the equation. I'm just conveniently putting it there, but I'm just adding 9 to the left side, which means I'm also going to add 9 to the right side. But now I also need to complete the square on the y terms. So what do I need to put there? Still b over 2 squared. In this case, now the b is negative 14. So I'm going to do negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. Negative 7 squared is 49. So I'm going to add 49 to the left, which means I also have to add 49 to the right. So we basically just complete the square twice, which really is no problem. So now let's look at what we have on the left. Over here, this becomes x plus, and remember that what goes here, you can factor that, but it's just b over 2 before you squared it, so that's 3 squared. And then the y part, same thing. That's going to be y, the b over 2 was minus 7, negative 7, so that's y minus 7 squared, equals whatever this works out to be. So let's see, that's 58 minus 20, so that's 38. And just like that, we've written this equation in standard form. I know its center is at negative 3, 7, and its radius is the square root of 38. So from what we started with, this kind of messy looking equation, I was able to write it in standard form fairly easily, and then determine easily the radius and the center so that I could use that to graph or get other information. That's all for now. I hope this helps. Thanks.